Oh.
You see that guy right there? Looks like he's hit rock bottom. Well, what you don't know is that guy over there is me. I bet you're wondering how I got myself into this situation. Well, it's kind of a funny story. Well, that was a little overdramatic, but hi everyone, my name is Zach. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are celebrating 1 year together. 1 year of tagging, 1 year of yelling, 1 year of being a hot mess, 1 year of tagging, of being tagged, all that jazz. And I thought it'd be a little fun today to take a little walk down memory lane and not only explore my journey on Booktube, but my journey to Booktube to kind of say how I got here, because I think the story is kind of fun, and plus it gives me an opportunity to fanboy over some lovely people, and I'm always down for an opportunity to fanboy, so let's just jump right in, shall we? So oddly enough, I'd say my journey to Booktube actually starts in high school, not with reading though. My journey to Booktube really starts sophomore year of high school when I joined the band, and I became a percussionist, which I still am to this day. I still play a little bit, but percussion very quickly became a sort of all-encompassing hobby for me. It took up, my after school, and then it took up all my time at home. And then like junior year, I joined a weekend group, so I was doing that on the weekends. That was a big memory for me, and I ended up auditioning for it and making it into a school of music. And that's really where this story starts, because I got there and I hated it. I hated the structure, I hated how rigid it was, I hated that I wasn't allowed to do all the things I wanted to do. It just really wasn't for me, and I hated it so much that not only did I drop out of the school of music after that first semester, but I actually almost stopped playing altogether. I played very rarely for like a whole year after that. And that kind of left me in a pinch, because suddenly my one all-encompassing hobby I had no interest in anymore. So I had like all this free time, and while my new major as a statistics major was demanding somewhat of time, I mean, I did have to put time and effort into it, it certainly was not the time sink that a music major is. So I kind of struggled looking for things to do with myself, because I didn't have any other hobbies that I could really turn to. I tried to get back into gaming, but never been able to get back into gaming the way I was in like middle school, so I ended up turning to YouTube, which was an old friend of mine by this point. I kind of jumped between various communities, the gaming community, and then I went to some like music channels, and then I ended up discovering the film community, specifically the channels of Lindsay Ellis and Folding Ideas, who's Dan Olson. And I really enjoyed these channels. I've been a fan of film since 7th grade when I took a TV productions class, and really gelled with the teacher, and that teacher really got me interested in film. So I really enjoyed learning about film, and I learned a lot from those channels, and I love them to this day. I loved them so much that I was kind of interested in making my own YouTube channel, which I thought about doing for a long time. But these channels they always alluded to having that film degree, that film school, where they would say, oh, if you go to film school, you'd learn about the auteur theory, or, when you're in film school, you take this class. And it always felt like that was being held above me. And so it kind of held me back from wanting to join that community in particular. So I never did. I just kept watching, and I learned a lot about not only film, but just storytelling in general. But I just did that for a while. I went to school, I watched a bunch of YouTube, and nothing else really happened. But from the film community, I discovered Jenny Nicholson, which is where the story takes a turn onto Booktube. Jenny Nicholson has a really famous video called, I Did It, I Found the Worst Book. And it's a review of an Amazon self-published book called Troll. And it is just hilariously bad. If you haven't seen that video, you should go watch it. I'll link it below. But I was watching that, and it was one of those late nights where you got nothing to do. It was probably a weekend. And so I just kind of looked at the YouTube suggested videos and saw what was there. And what happened to be there was Lily C. Reed's review of Savage Thunder, which I would show footage from, but it only exists in our hearts from now on, so I can't really. But what I can show you is footage from what I watched next. And what I watched next was Jordan Harvey's Zenith Rant review.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Now, I had no idea what Booktube was. I had no idea what Zenith was. I had no idea about the Zenith drama. None of that. I just happened to see this thumbnail, which if you can look at that thumbnail and not be interested in watching the video regardless of what your taste in books is, I don't even know who you are, because like that thumbnail really like belongs in the Smithsonian. I I really love that thumbnail. But I clicked on it and I remember watching the video, and I was watching the video and I was laughing quite a bit because it's quite a funny video in my opinion. But I noticed that Jordan talked in a way that she talked similar to those film channels about a lot of the same things, about character motivation. Is this character necessary? And pacing and how a plot is structured. But she didn't really allude to, oh, you know, I have an English degree and if you study English as a major, and none of that crap. It was just one lover of storytelling just talking to other people that like storytelling. And that really resonated with me, and I kind of felt like maybe I shouldn't have been looking at the film community if I loved storytelling this much. Maybe this community could really be the place for me. And funny story, honestly, I remember the exact moment I subscribed to Jordan's channel, and it was literally this gag.
The douche general is in a shocking turn of events, still a douche. He extends their contract, and then they ruin the twist ending.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
And I know that seems like a stupid thing to like really latch onto, but I was at like the height of my Simon and Garfunkel fandom. So like, she's talking about storytelling, she's funny, and she likes Simon and Garfunkel. That's a subscription for me, dog. But I ended up watching a few more book rant reviews that night. I don't remember all of them. I do remember watching Casey Ayanzo's Chasing Red video. I don't know if you guys remember, she was a booktuber back in the day. She doesn't really do it anymore. She does like a bunch of different stuff. But I watched that, and I watched Paperback Dreams' ACOTAR video. And again, had no idea what ACOTAR was. So I just happened to click on it because the thumbnail looked funny. And a lot of the things I talked about with Jordan's video kind of carries over to Kat as well. And I noticed from these 3 videos something really encouraging. One, all 3 of these videos talked about storytelling like I had learned to think about storytelling from the film channels that I watched, but none of them really brought up degrees. And the reason for that, number 2, the second thing that stuck out to me, was that all these people were young. They were all around my age. And it was like, hey, here's people my age who have a similar interest to me, and, you know, they're doing their YouTube thing. And so I was kind of like really sold on the community. One teensy tiny little problem though, wasn't a reader. By this point in college, I want to say this was towards the end of my second year that I had discovered Booktube. I had listened to, I think, 3 audiobooks. I remember listening to It by Stephen King, Salem's Lot by Stephen King, and The Martian. And then I had read this, Phil Collins' Not Dead Yet, which is his like memoir, autobiography, whatever you want to say. And I really enjoyed this, and I enjoyed 2 of the other 3. But 4 books in 2 years is hardly a read or make. But it was such a good fit, this community. It seemed like such a good fit for me that I refused to not even try. I had to at least see if I could read so that I could join the community, because I'd gotten to that point in analyzing storytelling where all your friends tell you you're nitpicky and annoying because you start to notice, you know, like I said, character motivations and plot and pacing, and you can really point out why things do and don't work. And unless you're talking to people that also love that stuff, people kind of get annoyed. So what I ended up deciding was I was going to take that whole summer. I was going to try to read constantly, and if I could make it to fall, still interested in reading, still interested in joining this community, then I'd do it. And during that time, I found a lot of other channels that I liked. I remember watching Maddie the Book Pusher's video about cover changes, and that video really resonated with me because, you know, she's talking about being petty, and, you know, I can be that way too. I remember finding out about Dick Soapgate from Cindy when I discovered Cindy's channel.
Their loins and dick soap.
We are so wild in this community, it's like not even funny. But the point being is, the more I watched Booktube, the more I kind of fell in love with it, and the more I really realized, like, keep reading, Zach, because this is a place that's going to be good for you. Before this, I hadn't really been part of any online communities really, so I had a hard time making friends online, which is hilarious to think about now because I feel like I have nothing but online friends. I have like one real life friend, but I digress. But so we got to August, and I was like, okay, I'm still reading. I had read a bunch of books over the summer. I had really enjoyed it. So it's time to start that YouTube channel, which I didn't. I filmed the new to Booktube tag tons of times where I would film it and I wouldn't be happy with it, or I'd start editing it and then I'd get busy. And by the time I was finished with whatever group of things I had to do, group of assignments, it had been weeks and I felt like I needed to refilm it and repeat ad nauseum. And what I ended up doing instead, I remember I ended up joining Twitter. And I first joined Twitter to do Boo-a-thon with Maddie the Book Pusher. And that was literally my first tweet. I remember that. And interacted with people on Twitter, and they didn't bite, shockingly enough. But I ended up becoming friends with Avery Loves Books, whose channel I had found because she has celiac disease, which is something I have, which is a really severe form of gluten intolerance. And we ended up talking, and I had told her that I had thought about starting a channel, and she kind of gently pushed me and was like, hey, you should like actually do it now. And so finally, April 16th of last year, I posted this. Hello everyone, my name is Zach and welcome to my channel. It was funny going back the other day to watch this video. It's not as stiff as I thought it would be. The big thing is like I'm not really talking with my hands, which I do a lot of now, and I'm a lot more physically expressive, for lack of a better term, at least I think. But yeah, you know, I just ended up doing it. Made a couple friends early on. The first one I remember being friends with is Kat from Kat Talks. Shout out to Kat. And she, after a couple weeks, invited me to take part in a collab, which is the DNFing Books collab with a group I ended up dubbing the Struggle Bus, because every time we talk, we're always like struggling with something, each of us. But it's me, Kat, Kristen, Ashley, and Laura from what everyone else is reading. And that was my first Booktube group. It was my first Booktube group chat that I was a part of, just talking with people. And, you know, we still talk a little bit every now and again. We check in on each other. But that was really encouraging to have a friend and have a group of smaller people to kind of bond with. I also got really lucky in the fact that a couple of people that inspired me found my channel early on. Maddie the Book Pusher, who I talked about already, she happened to find my video. Allie, who's now Allie Enchanted, not Allie Colvere, she found my videos. And then Kat from Paperback Dreams had asked on Twitter for new channels, and I threw mine in the ring, and she ended up watching my video. So that was how we started talking, which is a great friendship now, at least from my perspective. I don't know, Kat might secretly hate me and hope I never talk to her again, but I think we're friends. But, you know, things just kind of continue. It was kind of rocky at first. I didn't really have a regular upload schedule at first, but eventually I figured it out. And I think the important thing to stress here, looking back at some of my early videos, is don't pretend to be someone you're not. I pretended to be someone who was really kind of uptight and dignified and was going to talk about things in a serious way. And those to me are the most painful videos to watch now. The ones I prefer are the ones when I finally figured out just to be myself, and if I wanted to get loud and yell about something, to just yell and get, you know, petty about something and get really passionate about something. And those are the videos that really work, and I made videos that were a lot more authentically me. And I think if you make videos that are authentically you, you will have a much easier time creating content, but people will have an easier time connecting with that content. So if there's any newbies in the audience, or any potential newbies in the audience, that's kind of my advice to you 1 year in, is don't pretend to have your shit together if you don't. Let the wild mess that is you out, and people will connect with it. I had my kind of big break, as I call it, when Cindy gave me the shout out for doing my Unwind video, which is still probably one of my favorites. It's analytical, but also has a fair amount of jokes in there. You know, I talk about the serious topics. I talk about the make a playlist, which God, that still cracks me up. That kind of leads us to where we are today. But just want to say thank you all for being here for a whole ass year. I can't believe it's been a year already. Time flies. But to all the friends I've made, thank you all for watching, for commenting, for dealing with my dumb ass. Trying to act like I'm actually funny. We both know that's a lie, but thanks for trying. But I just hope this coming year and all the years after just continues to be fun, and we make good content for each other. I hope to give you some laughs, and hope to tell you that you made me laugh, because I feel like getting a positive comment is like the greatest feeling you can give another booktuber. But maybe that's just me. But anyway, just wrap up the video, Zach. Thank you all very much for watching. Maybe I'll put some best of clips depending on how long this video is already. I'm not really sure. But if you like it, feel free to give it a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe if you feel so inclined. And I will see you next time.